Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mario game with the brothers that is from the year 2006.
Okay, so when a hammer brother goes to a level, what happens then?
It's just standing at the front of the level being a jackass. It's not like
Oh.
Mario 3 where they had their own little section dedicated
That's
to
a
them.
bit lame.
It is a little bit lame. It just makes the level a lot harder for no reason because I hate those guys. There are probably very few enemies in video games that I just hate seeing than a Hammer Brother because you're just like, oh god damn it.
Hammer Brothers were at their worst in the first game.
Oh yeah, well that's because you have the least
fair.
amount of options in the first
Yeah,
game. And keeping a Fire Flower that late in the game is so hard, you know?
Hammer Brothers are iconic of a kind of retro platformer difficulty that you don't really see anymore. Like if you didn't play the original game, you don't understand, man.
The Hammer Brother before Bowser in 8-4 is the actual final boss of the game.
You gotta jump over him. How the hell are you supposed to do that? That's one of the things that I find
the trick to Hammer Brothers is honestly just run for it.
Just run for
you have
it.
You have to gun it. Yeah,
because it takes time for them to get their hammer out and start throwing it once they appear on screen. So if you're going full...
Although you are fucked if the first thing they do is jump.
Yeah, so it's one of those, you kind of just have to risk it. Because if you're going full blast, your best option is to just book it and jump over them and just hope you make
I'd
it.
argue is not good enemy design.
Oh, it's not. I'm just saying there's at least a way to somewhat deal with them.
The issue, really, for context, if none of you have played the older games, is that the Hammer Brothers barely animate.
Yeah.
So there's no tell for what they're about to do.
Yeah, that's a big thing in modern games versus older games. One example is Streets of Rage 4 versus Streets of Rage 2 and 3. In Streets of Rage 4, the animation's really, really good. So it's a lot easier to tell when certain enemies are going to do certain attacks and react. Versus if you play the old games where there's less frames of animation, you find yourself getting pot-shotted a lot more because they just kind of do their attack and there's not as much wind.
Yeah, they come out in frame 1 or 2.
Yeah, there's not as much wind up.
They go straight from their standing pose to their I've already punched you in the face and you've already lost
my
health
fist
pose.
is already out.
Oh my wumbo.
That's exactly why comparing Castlevania Rondo of Blood to the Dracula X remake on PSP, why I think the PSP version is easier because everything's a 3D model. Everything has wind up.
Yeah.
So it's way easier to read enemies in that version.
Does it make the game feel less fun to play, though? Because I know that that's sometimes a thing with games.
My biggest problem with Dracula X on PSP is that it's aesthetically a step back because everything's kind of muted.
Okay.
In color palette.
Yeah, it's a darker, more grimmer take. It's essentially trying to make the 3D graphics look like the art style that they're using, and the art style they're using is very Symphony of the Night, Order of Ecclesia kind of style.
Which looks great on an illustration, not so much with.
I think it would look better if it was at a higher resolution with higher res textures and stuff. As it is,
Sure.
It's kind of limited by PSP.
Yeah, I bet we could make a
resolution
modern day Castlevania game 2D animated with art that looked like the covers to Symphony of the Night and the key art and all of that.
And you know what? Just rip off Tales of Arise. Use that art style. It would be the most Castlevania game you've ever Castlevania'd. But
And Tales of Arise is the Tales of series, right? Like Tales of Symphonia, Tales of...
Yes, it's the new one.
Okay.
It has a very sort of painting in motion kind of visual style to it.
Okay, I'll have to give it a try. I'm not a huge fan of the Tales gameplay.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's oh, the game looks great, but it's also a Tales game. I'm not a huge fan of those.
Well, ever since I want to say Tales of Berseria, they've had a more smoother, freely controlled action combat system.
Oh, you see, Tales of Berseria, that's the one with the guy with the dog, right?
Tales of Berseria is the one with the really edgy looking chick.
Okay, I'm not sure if that's the one I'm thinking of. There was one that was it Vesperia? God, the names of this series are so stupid. Tales of Arise is the first one to make sense in years. But one of them got a re-release on Switch a couple years back, and a lot of people were really excited because that was the one I think that only ever got released on Xbox, but there was a PS3 version, but that one was only in Japan. And so people were really excited. And so I hadn't played one in years, and so I figured I'd try it out, and it just didn't click with me. and also the
It's
port
probably
wasn't-
one of the older ones in that case. because
Yeah,
all of the
so
new ones
I
have
should
the
try
multiplayer.
one of the newer ones and see if I like the combat a little bit more.
I strongly suggest trying the Tales of Arise demo.
Okay, oh, if there's a demo, then there's like no harm in
there's
doing
there's
it,
a
right?
demo. You can pick whichever of the characters you want to play as for the demo, and you can explore and do combat and stuff. It just drops you right into a mid game section. So very good demo. for
Okay,
getting. a
I'll
feel
have
for
to give it a shot. My big problem with the combat in Tales games, just in case anybody's curious, is that I found it just kind of felt like button mashing a little bit.
It's there is a strategy to it, and you kind of have to get used to the way the combat works to get that strategy. The older Tales games do have this kind of stiff feeling to them, in the sense that you're sort of locked onto an axis with whatever enemy you're locked onto.
Yeah.
And it can be difficult to react to other enemies that are also in play at the same time. So I definitely think switching to a more freeform action combat system was a good move.
Yeah.
Um,
Does
at
it feel more like Ease in any way?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, you still have to focus a lot on your arts, but it is like a more run around. You have an attack button kind of a freeform system.
Okay, because I bought Ease in 9 when it first came out, and I still haven't played it yet because
I've heard very, very, very good things about that.
Okay, I liked Ease 8. It just kind of
Dragged on.
Yeah, it wore out its welcome. I got like 2/3 of the way through the game, and it was still going.
Yeah, I don't think the East series supports all those Trails concepts quite as well as the Trails series itself does.
I mean, Ease is very like fast, and that's why I really like it. It played the remake of Ease 3, Oath and Felghana. That game is like one of my favorite.
Beautiful game.
One of my
yes.
favorite RPGs of all time. But in any case, I also need to play Trail. We're not even into October yet. I don't know when this is getting uploaded, but October is going to be a new... in October? Oh, okay. Then I hope present day me is enjoying Monkey Ball and Metroid and Age of Empires and Mario Superstars. Because
I hope present day you has been able to afford all of those games.
probably not. I'm gonna have to skip at least one of them. I just don't.
And
know
then we
which.
got Shin Megami Tensei 5 in November.
Oh well, at the very least, I'll definitely be setting aside time for that because that game is gonna be awesome.
And then Advance Wars like at the very, very start of December.
Oh God! No, I'm never gonna be able to finish Shin Megami Tensei before Advance Wars comes out. Those games are like 90 hours for one run.
Man, you know, when the Persona 25th anniversary announcements came out and people got salty that we haven't had a Switch announcement for Persona 5 yet, I'm like, dude, they're not going to announce that before Shin Megami Tensei 5 comes out. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, Shin Megami Tensei 5 is just this weird, obscure spin-off of the Persona series, so I don't know if it'll really compete.
I mean, at this point, it kind of is.
Oh, man. Like, just imagine the world where, God, I don't know, Wario Land became the Nintendo flagship series. And
for a while it was, at least on handhelds.
Yeah, you know, or like...
we got 4 Wario Land games between Mario handheld games.
Or like Prime Pinball ended up doing really, really well, and then normal Metroid games were like once every decade.
I mean, that later part was already...
Man, this Metroid pinball spinball was kind of hot.
No, imagine a world where Nintendo was like way forward, only making like their main Mario and Zelda games every like... well, I was about to say every few years, every like 5 years or so, but then I remember that's about how frequently they do it. Every 10 years, and their main series and their main like yearly releases were just like WarioWare.
I mean, some people would be very happy with that. I mean, it does seem like Nintendo is bringing back their more like niche franchises and realizing that there is markets for them.
I think someone finally told them, hey, everything does better on Switch. Now's the time to actually do this shit.
Yeah, like they brought back Cruisin'. Like, I didn't even know Cruisin' was a Nintendo property.
I don't think it technically wasn't.
No, I don't think it
No,
is.
it
It
is.
no. Well, no. I mean, now it might be, but no. Originally, it was a midway title. They just worked heavily with Nintendo to get it on N64.
The thing about Nintendo's like neglected first-party properties is that, like, it always made zero sense to me that they neglect them, because like all the other platforms have strong like second-party support for exclusives, or third-party support. I don't know what you would technically call that. So like, not only are they making their in-house productions, or at least funding productions with their label on it, they have all these exclusivity deals with other companies. Nintendo, as a selling point, really only has Nintendo, and they've been neglecting themselves.
Yeah, like Nintendo's strongest like asset is their IP, in that they've got literally dozens, I should say, of extremely strong, memorable game franchises that people will like literally go up to die for. Like, have you seen Metroid and F-Zero fans? Like, they would actually probably kill someone if it meant a new game coming out.
Maybe I should get out of Georgia.
If Some Call Me Johnny dies, and then the next day we see a new F-Zero game announced, somebody try to find where Ryan is just all I'm saying.
As an aside, it is one of those weird things where it's like, a lot of the things they neglect are notoriously still popular, and they just don't do anything with them. It's like, JRPGs are about as popular as they've ever been, so where the hell is Golden Sun?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Golden Sun is a Camelot game.
Yeah, I think they own the IP.
Yeah,
and Nintendo still has a good working relationship with Camelot. Like, they just made another Mario sports game not too long ago.
And to be fair, they did try to keep Golden Sun going on the DS, didn't they?
Yeah, but people didn't really like that one, if I remember correctly.
So I think that one's less like that's less of a matter of them neglecting a series that's popular and more a matter of it kind of lost steam.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to remember that game came out like, 2008? That was almost that was more than 10 years ago.
10 years.
Yeah. At the same time, I don't think like Nintendo's handhelds library has been lacking in RPGs, so it's understandable that they aren't trying to really.
I would say nowadays they could do a little bit more with it, because the only Nintendo RPG really left is Pokemon. A lot of the other RPGs.
I mean, depending on how RPG-ish you want to count Fire Emblem.
I mean, they're related. They're related. But
It's hard because it's obviously a tactics game, but it is very much RPG-ish, especially after Post Awakening.
Yeah, but I would say like RPGs have done well on Nintendo platforms, but not Nintendo RPGs specifically. It's more that like Dragon Quest got popular, Final Fantasy's still doing well. Shin Megami Tensei got a bit of a renaissance. A lot of those things have happened. It's not like Nintendo themselves have been releasing a lot of RPGs. Like, Nintendo's big RPG, like, we were talking about this not too long ago, in that Mario RPGs are pretty much dead currently. Like, Mario and Luigi doesn't exist anymore, and Paper Mario is not really an RPG series anymore. So, those were, like, their biggest RPGs. And Pokemon's always just a weird one, because I have no doubt that if somehow the Pokemon Company were able to become a fully third-party developer, and
it would not appear on Nintendo anymore. No.
Well, they would appear on Nintendo, but they would jump ship to be full third party.
They wouldn't be exclusive.
No,
on
Nintendo. They would jump full ship to being like 90% mobile games, because that's the money Ishihara wants, and that's all he cares about.
Yeah, but I mean, they would do a big HD like PS5, Xbox, Series X, Pokemon game too. Like that's just.
But well, no, they would release a game on PS5 and Xbox Series X, but it would look like a PS2 game.
They would embarrass themselves if they tried to do that. I'm sorry.
I mean, they embarrassed themselves when they released Pokemon Sword and Shield. Hi-oh!
I was gonna say, just based off the Pokemon community discourse, I don't think they ever released a good game.
Yeah, no.
Well, not
we all
since
hate
Gen
the
5.
newest.
No, ever.
We all hate the newest game, and the game immediately before that was the best thing ever.
No, I don't think
not
think
really.
X and Y ever had that.
No, yeah, you're right. That's fair. That's fair.
Now, when Sun and Moon came out, everyone said that was better than X and Y. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Sun and Moon are generally well regarded. I think.
I mean, I love those games, but there are people who are like, there's too many tutorials. I don't want to talk to interesting characters.
You know, I've very rarely heard that criticism of Sun and Moon, so it might just be like a few loud people.